right?
That's so sick. Cassandra, I'm so excited to have you on. I want to hear about your journey. I want to hear anything and everything you want to share. Um, and let's start at the beginning.
For sure. So I'm Cassandra. Um, I am the mother to a 4-year-old, and so my partner and I and our son and our Doberman live in Ontario, Canada. I Our son joined our family through adoption. I have stage 4 endometriosis, which really affects fertility, um, and so that it has been tricky and challenging. Um, yeah, as you said, I'm a community manager for two amazing businesses that support mothers and women. So that's my vibe. That's kind of what launched me into wanting to become, sorry, a postpartum doula. Any way that I can support a family, a mom, I'm absolutely, that's what I feel called to do. Um, yeah, so I've gone through a lot, and I'm happy to be here to share part of my story and talk with you. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to learn more. I'm a big fan of the mom supporting community. This was the
Mm-hmm.
big point of the podcast as well. Um, there's so much when it comes to motherhood. There's the relationship that you start building with your kids. There's the relationship you build with your partners. There's the relationship you build with yourself. Um, and I think what's tough right now, in an odd sense, is the social media, because in one sense it brings us together and it gives us this kind of outlet to really find the resources we need. But sometimes you land in like jungle in a whole different forest area where everything's just foreign, right? And different people have different opinions, different people have different ways that they do things, and I think it's something we often forget is circumstances, right? Everyone's in different circumstances. I've been very, I'll call it lucky, but I've landed with some of my videos I'll put out where it'll go, let's say, viral, but the comments are so. There was one of me with my kid going to the grocery store, and I had a whole bunch of frozen pizzas in the cart because I like these like Annie's cauliflower crust pizzas. I throw mushrooms on them. It's a quick snack for me because I can just get going. The day keeps going. I'm not ready to cook a full meal for me. And it was still my baby at the time who was breastfeeding. But the comments went after me saying I'm such a bad mom, feeding my baby only pizza, and why did I buy 11 of them? This poor baby's only getting fed pizza, and I'm this terrible mom. And I'm like, the pizzas weren't for her.
Right.
It was about me because I'm just struggling over here trying to make a quick meal. And then, I was kind of defending it all. And then I was like, but what if I was feeding my kid pizza?
It's
What
nobody's
if that's what
business.
what my family could afford?
Right.
My
Right.
baby's eating.
Yeah.
And it was like the cauliflower, healthy choice, but people were like, "You're a terrible mom." And
Yeah.
just like, I'm at the grocery store, and so being in that place where I'm like, man, even if you're just trying to feed yourself, people will go after you like vultures, not knowing the circumstances, perhaps not knowing what it. And so I wanted to open up the space. I'm with you on this one, where I think somehow the moms somewhere got forgotten as a group, and because the society is so driven towards this really heavy, you got to work hard and you got to get after that paycheck, you got to do that. And I do think that's important and we should encourage that, but we shouldn't forget about those responsibilities that are most important when it comes to raising our kids, the time that we put into it. I think the term right now is the default parent, of someone staying at home or spending more time with the kids, right? And the forgotten responsibilities, or feeling unseen about all the little things that we do throughout the day. Um, and so, I mean, that can again go into its own separate thing. Ugh. And so it's hard. It's hard out there for moms. I think it's hard out there for moms to find the community, to find where you're not feeling judged at the just
That's the thing, right? I think a lot of people have a lot to say about other people's lives, but they should really be spending that time on their own.
right.
Um, this culture of shaming and judging people, not knowing their circumstances, just I don't think I will ever understand, just
Right.
because I live my life free of judgment. I think, before I became a parent, I would see maybe a parent with like those backpack harnesses and be like, oh my gosh, baby on a leash. It's like, no, now that I'm a parent, like kids run. And so
Right.
as soon as I became a parent, all judgment went away. And
Right.
so I feel as though there's so many people out there that are, have something to say about what you're doing, but like it has nothing to do with you. Unless it has any impact on your life, you do not have a say in what other people do. And I think that it's so important, as like, how defeating is that as a parent, new parent, perhaps first child, and just think that you're horrible when you're not. You're loving on your child is fed, your child has shelter, your child has the basic needs that it needs. So I'm unsure as to why people can't just support each other.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel the need, because at the beginning you see all these, especially me as an adoptive parent, I had to formula feed my son. The judgment, like this was the only option. My son is fed, you know what I mean? So that's when I kind of started my mission to kind of uplift and support and nurture moms and parents, because there's so much like negativity out there. And that's the last thing you need when you're tired and hungry and you're giving yourself to this other little human, and you're left with very little for yourself. Like your identity completely changes as a parent. So I am so happy that I am surrounded by these villages and these two communities that support and uplift parents, because it's just so important, especially in this very vulgar comment, negativity, troll time that we're in. So I totally agree.
It took me some time to kind of realize this, but at some point I forgot that I was learning, right? And so as I'm raising my baby, I'm trying to help her learn and do all of this, but then I get down on myself and like, well, I'm doing this wrong and this wrong, and then I had this kind of realization where I'm like, I'm brand new with this too. She's learning how to be a human. I'm learning how to be a parent.
That's the thing.
I'm still learning how to be a human also.
Absolutely. And so, and ourselves as humans, we have to help these little humans self-regulate, but it's not about them self-regulating. It's about us self-regulating. And I find that sorry, my dog was drinking water. That, for me, for example, I am so wanting to be that parent that I never had. And so there's so much expectation on my shoulders of what I want to provide for my son and how I want him to avoid trauma. But when you think about it, you want to break that cycle, but it's like, I'm already doing enough. I'm already doing way more than, oh my gosh, than I ever, Rosie, that I ever could have imagined. And I've had to realize, like, you can't make these expectations. You're doing your best. You don't need to give them the whole world. You just loving on your child is enough than bringing them to the zoo every day or whatever it might be. So it's really hard, like, depending on how you were raised, raising a little human in the way that like you wanted to be raised, right? So there's so much expectation. So we have to let that go and just know that each day is a new day, fresh start. And if you lose your marbles on your kiddo one day, just know that tomorrow's a new day. Everybody is human, and everybody gets frustrated. So it's really hard, because you are that model, right, for these little guys. So it's tricky, but you have to give yourself grace, because we're not perfect.
I think grace is something I'm trying to focus on, because I think I fall into that category of expectations where, like you, I'm trying to make sure I'm holding that shield for my kiddos, so none of those other generational things or things that happen to me happen to them, right? The trauma, the anything, I want to protect them. So there's those really big self-raised expectations. And then when you're new in motherhood, you don't know what you're doing. And so each decision, you kind of want to just back it up, right? You just want to say, no, I'm doing it right, because you want to just be, you want to be right at something. You're just, and so you're trying to meet these expectations. You're trying to meet these other societal expectation where you see online. And that alone, plus all the different thoughts that come in, right? It's exhausting living in here sometimes when it's just occupying all of this space. But I think the most important points and times we spend with our kids is just, it doesn't have to be the zoo or the vacation or things, but it's the everyday. And even when it's those moments of frustration, how important are those moments to even say, hey, you know what? I was frustrated.
Right.
I handled it this way. Maybe I shouldn't have, maybe I should, whatever the explanation is, but to turn that moment into saying,